Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Finance and Accounting Show, and today we have a great guest on. Now, a couple of things that I want to point out to you. One is she is a CPA, but she does not have an accounting degree. So, how does that even happen? We'll talk about that on the show. Also, there are some exciting things going on at their firm, some great things that I think that a lot of other firms can learn from, and a lot of professionals will get insight from this interview. So, stay tuned for today's episode. So, without further ado, let me bring on my guest. Susan, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Susan, as I mentioned in the intro, there are a lot of great things that you guys are working on. Now, one of the first things that's probably on a lot of people's mind when I said it is the CPA that does not have an accounting degree. Now, for as a CPA myself, we would probably think like, how is that even possible?
True. When I was at UT Austin, I began pursuing a marketing degree. And I took a couple of accounting classes, as most business students are advised. Take a couple of accounting classes so you can get a better job. And so I took a couple, and then I was like, well, I'll take a couple more and I'll get an even better job. And then I took a few more and a few more. And by the time I got to my senior year, I had to enroll in another college to pursue even more accounting classes so that I could eventually get enough accounting hours in order to sit for the exam.
Nice, nice. Now, I'm curious, since you started off in marketing, did you ever find at any point like the way of thinking in the world of marketing and then how you had to think about accounting, did they ever conflict in your mind?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I think one of the things that kind of sets me apart maybe is because I'm very process oriented. I'm sort of more of a big picture thinker. And while the details, of course, are very important, and it's actually probably one of the areas I struggle the most with in order to I have to be very intentional about being detailed. The big picture actually is more, I don't know, appropriate for a business owner, right? They need help thinking bigger. And so they need help from their accountant to really help them to cast a financial vision. In a lot of cases, their accountant is, I'm going to file a tax return. I'm going to do the state tax return. I'm going to do the payroll tax returns, the monthly accounting. And they're not helping them to really step back and look at the bigger picture. Where am I going? What am I going to do? What are my personal and professional financial goals? Why am I doing all of this? And then really kind of getting that strategic plan in place, not only from like a operational standpoint, but from a financial perspective too. So I think in a lot of ways it helps us to service our clients in a completely different way.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. And I so agree because I often spend a lot of time talking to different business owners. I mean, being an accountant myself, and one of the things that I have to remind them sometimes is that, your accounting and your tax strategy is just part of your overall strategy. Like, don't forget, you didn't start a business just to focus on tax or just to focus on accounting.
True, yeah, and in a lot of cases, I mean, I talk to people all the time who won't give up the accounting in their business, like, they wanna DIY it, They don't mow their own yard, they don't paint their own house, they don't fix their own plumbing, they don't perform their own appendectomy, you know what I mean? But they wanna do their own accounting, and so, a lot of times, it's us really kinda getting out of this mindset that you didn't start a business to become great at accounting. You started a business to become great at what you started your business to do. So give it over to us or give it to a professional, another expert, and let them really set that piece on fire, like get it running smoothly, regimented, disciplined, everything about it working perfectly so that you can rely upon the information, but you don't have to do it. So again, but it's more of a mindset thing. It's really kind of coaching them through this process of letting go, the whole delegate and elevate conversation, right?
Mhm.
You're gonna have to start letting this go. Get rid of this low value task that you're working on and get to the high value task.
Gotcha. Now, afterwards, has any of the clients that have kind of gone through that effective mindset shift, have they come back and, ever said, you know what? in the beginning, I was afraid to let this go because of XYZ. Have they ever come back to you and had that conversation with
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think fear is probably the most paralytic thing for business owners, right? They're just frozen by it. They don't know what to do. A lot of times, once they start learning how to slowly let go of things and trust other people, right? Delegate to someone who they do feel like has some competence, coach that person, develop a way of creating accountability in the organization, it becomes easier, right? And so once they've realized the benefit of creating that in their organization, I mean, you can't hold them back. They is it's a it just propels them forward in so many different ways. So it is transformative, and that's really what we're in the business of helping them to do, is transform their business, and in doing so, they transform their lives.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So, can you tell us a little bit? So, after school, you went, you got the additional accounting courses, so you can sit for the CPA exam, and you sat and you passed it on the first try, which is a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, you study for 17 weeks, and like I said, I'm doing this one time. That's it.
Awesome. So after you passed the exam, what did kind of your professional career look like, or your business career? When did it start?
Yeah, so I started off my career in internal audit for a large bank, and it was not really accounting, it wasn't really marketing. It was really sort of I don't know, it's just very control driven, risk oriented. So I think that's where I began to really learn more about how to create and be the architect of processes in organizations, and how important that is. Because when you are the auditor and you're looking for all the things that could go wrong, now when you sort of pivot and you apply that to a business and you see, hey, all this stuff applies in a business, is great. So when I started in public accounting, I had just passed the CPA exam, and I said, I gotta try this public accounting thing. I can't become a CPA and not try public accounting. I mean, I didn't even know what a trial balance was when I started in public accounting. I knew nothing, zero. And there was a gentleman who had a very small firm, and he hired me. So it was basically me and him, and I did everything. I did compilations, I did accounting, I did tax returns, you name it, individual, S corp, C corp, personal, I did everything. And for me, that was really fundamental, because I literally experienced everything. I learned how everything in accounting works. And in doing so, because it was a small organization, I had a lot of influence to modify things. So they were like typing in financial statements. You remember the days where you'd have the financial statements set up in Word, and you'd have to type the numbers in to like a table. So we automated that. I brought a lot of innovation to that firm, and then you kind of know, like, I did as much as I could, and it's time to move on. So I kind of moved into a different role with a larger firm, and then I decided to retire and have a baby, and retirement didn't suit me very well. I don't know why. It's not made for that. And then I came to the MB group, which is where I work now, and I've been here for 15, almost 16 years. And in doing so, we basically have created the outsourced accounting services model. So when the whole new the CAS thing that is so popular right now, it's like really gaining a lot of momentum and steam in CPA firms. We started it 15 years ago. And so it's been something that over the course of, that time, it's just grown so much. I mean, it's one half of our practice now. It's a phenomenal practice. I love it. I think the greatest thing about working in accounting with your clients, for CPAs, is it's really sticky. You get really deep into those relationships. I mean, you're seeing everything that's happening. You see where they spend their money, what their priorities are, where their struggles are. You look at AR, AP, sales tax, 1099s, you name it, you're touching it in their business. And you really can begin to help them in a lot of different ways. You're seeing more of the skeletons, the problems, the risks in their business, and you're able to sort of uncover these areas where you can lend a lot of assistance, and begin to kind of craft something that sets their business apart. You begin to develop, I mean, really, it's just helping them to build the enterprise value, replicate processes where they're documented now instead of all stuck in somebody's head. I mean, there's just a ton of different things that we really begin to help with when we get that deep into the relationship with them.
Nice. I love it. There's so much value there. So I want to take a step back and unpack a couple things or ask a couple of questions down. For those that are watching that don't happen to be accountants, I'm going to let you in on a secret. Most accountants, when they start, I love your honesty because we don't really know much when we start. We can do all of this schooling and we really don't. We're learning in that first job. So, when you said, you were kind of doing, a little bit of everything, getting your hand, was that what you expected when you first took that job?
I don't even know what I expected, really. It I think in the days when I went to college, there was no like internships. I mean, that wasn't a requirement. I mean, people did them, but they're certainly not as prevalent as they are now. I mean, it was just a different time, right? So, I honestly just had no concept of what an accountant did. I mean, only what I had learned either from school or from my CPA review course. And to tell the truth, I mean, that was enough to pass the exam, but it had nothing to do with the practical application of the knowledge. So, yeah, it was a very educational experience. I learned a lot for sure. And in doing so, I think one of the great things about doing all of the work, and I think sometimes this gets lost a little bit, accountants, especially some of our more junior accountants, are in such a hurry to get to sort of the advising piece, but you really got to go through and do the work to understand all the different inner working components, like how things relate to each other. All of that stuff really adds to your breadth of knowledge so that as you begin working with business owners later in your career, you have all of that to draw from. So that experience is so valuable.
Now, during that experience, did you find yourself, gravitating to, more of the tax side, more of the operational, more of the strategic? Was there something that kind of tended to be a little bit of a favorite selection for Susan?
Mm, gosh. So I made it my mission. I said, I will leave my first accounting job. I said, I will leave when I prepare a business tax return and I get no review notes. Then I know I have mastered it and I can move on to another job. So I enjoyed the tax stuff. I learned a ton. We did lots of tax planning. I mean, when you're working so closely with the partner who was, had tons and tons of experience, I learned and mastered a lot of knowledge. Now, I would say at that point, tax was not my favorite. So I pivoted and went to sort of a senior auditor type role because I thought, okay, this is going to a little bit more my speed, more process oriented, more risk oriented, kind of harkening back to my days of being an internal auditor. And what I learned about audit is I don't like being the bad guy because I want to come in and I want to fix everything and I want to make it better. And when you're an auditor, you can point out all the things that need to get fixed, but your hands are kind of tied in making them better. So I didn't like that. And I didn't like the idea of like I have to get all this information from somebody and then tell somebody else that they're doing a really bad job. That wasn't my favorite part of the job. So when I had the opportunity to work in accounting, I felt like it was sort of the best of both worlds. Like I got to find all the problems and use my audit experience and knowledge, but then I got to fix it. I got to get my hands dirty and really like, hey, we're going to correct this. And you could see things start to change. I could change the chart of counts and I could make it pretty. I could change I could change the way that processes are oriented so mistakes didn't happen. And there's all sorts of things like that that I felt like accounting and it's not something that's advertised when you go to like a college like recruiting. They don't say it's either tax or audit, right? It's not tax, audit, or accounting. Like there's got to be people who actually do the accounting too, right? Otherwise, you can't prepare any tax returns and you can't do any audit work. So I feel like it would be great if we had more people who kind of started off their career like becoming awesome at accounting. It's desperately needed. So I prefer that particular part of our work. And now in my career, because I've had that tax experience and the audit experience, now my favorite part is actually tax planning. So taking these strategies and applying them using sort of the creative side of our brain to say, well, what could we be doing? I know what we did last year, but is there another way to do this? Another way to organize the business, more strategies, tactics to employ that could save a tremendous amount of taxes? I mean, we all know that every dollar we can keep in a business, that business owner has a chance to have an ROI on that dollar. I mean, they send it to the IRS and it's gone forever. There is no return. So now I feel like it's kind of an amalgamation of all these different experiences. Um, and we get to pitch these ideas. And a lot of times, it's really that's sort of where my marketing stuff comes is I have to explain and kind of help people to understand this is why you want to implement these tax strategies. This is the upside, these are pros, the features and benefits, if you will.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, speaking of tax strategies, love to hear your thoughts on, when it comes down to a business owner, the frequency that they should be thinking about their tax strategy, because it's one of those things like I don't focus on tax, but I often tell business owners, hey, don't wait until October to have a conversation about tax. Like most strategies that are worth their weight in gold are not going to happen in the fourth quarter. Like you probably want to talk to someone earlier. So, what's kind of the cadence you usually recommend with some of your clients?
Yeah, so we usually have about 3 meetings a year when we talk about planning. So the first meeting of the year is developing what we like to call like a plan on a page. Like, what are we going to accomplish this year? And that does incorporate a lot of financial initiatives and might incorporate other things like design and implement a business development plan, craft a plan to build a building, there's all sorts of things, but all of them are going to have some type of financial impact. And so we're quantifying and we're talking about what that means from a tax perspective too. So that's sort of like stage one. The middle of the year is when we're kind of doing this, June, July timeframe. We're doing like a mid-year tax checkup and we're saying, okay, what's happened the first half of the year? What's expected the second half of the year? What strategies do we really need to be like investigating, whether that's a captive insurance, implementing a 401k plan, a defined benefit plan. What could we implement that will have a dramatic impact on our tax liability? And what actions do we need to be taking for the next few months in order to make sure that when we get to the fourth quarter, the November, December timeframe, it is already in place and we can better quantify what that actual tax impact is going to look like in our final year-end tax planning. So, and then of course in November, December is our last chance, last opportunity to alter the financial future for those business owners for that tax year.
Nice, nice. Well, everyone, you have heard it from someone who does focus on tax planning that I am not the only one that says don't wait till the fourth quarter to try to start planning. So now, as you think about, with there's so many different things that are going on as far as conversations about the tax codes changing, not to get into any details about what is changing, but, from your conversations with clients, how are some of your clients feeling about what they're hearing or potentially hearing about changes?
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to say. The business owners are busy. So I think they're in a mindset right now of like make hay while the sun shines. I think that's really where their focus is. At least that's our clients because they know I'm going to reach out to them if there's something that they need to know. I think that's probably the biggest thing right now is they're trying to take advantage of every opportunity that's in front of them. So, a lot of them are adjusting prices because, hey, prices are on the rise. And if you don't raise your prices right now, you're going to miss the window. So you need to be thinking about that. You need to adjust those prices in accordance with how you are seeing your own costs increase. So I think that's sort of where they're focused right now. From a legislative standpoint, I think there's a lot of noise happening. It's, February of 2022. So, I mean, we're talking about like the potential stuff happening in the Ukraine. We have, we still have this resurgence of potentially COVID. I, you know, I don't, I don't know if they're as focused on what's happening in Washington as they are as focused as what's happening in their own business right now. I do not get a lot of calls of people who are really concerned about it. I think they're just trying to make as much money while they can. I mean, I went to an economic summit last week, and all of the economic indicators have shown that. I mean, this is like hair on fire growth for the last, you know, 90, 120 days. I mean, and I see it with the conversations I have with my business owners. So I think that they're just really, really swamped trying to make sure they grab as much revenue as they possibly can.
Nice, nice. Now, for yourself, I mean, with so many potential changes that could come and so many different factors, how do you stay on top of, making sure that you're ahead of some of these things to be able to provide your clients with the insight that they need when it comes down to tax planning?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a team effort. So we have here at our firm, we sort of assign specialties to certain individuals. So, like, cryptocurrency, real estate, retirement. There's some areas where we have to continue to stay up on them from like a vertical standpoint, which is just really key. And then we all really participate in as many CPEs as we possibly can to stay educated. And then myself, my business partner, and our tax director are also certified tax coaches. So we're members of the American Institute of Certified Tax Planners. And so we're getting fed a lot of information from them. They do a fantastic job of alerting us when regs are released, new rules come out, bringing in experts to continue to educate us about, hey, this is all the stuff you guys need to be aware of. So, I mean, it takes a lot of effort to stay on top of it. But if you don't, your business owners, your clients pay the price is what happens.
Gotcha. So when it comes down to your firm, what are the types of services that people come other than tax planning?
Yeah, so our firm is focused on helping business owners with accounting services. So we are basically like their internal accounting department. So they get a person, they get a fractional piece of like a staff accountant, a senior accountant, a controller, assistant controller, CFO, and so they don't have to go out and buy that. Each of those people. And then we take our accounting hat off once we've got reliable, accurate data, and we kind of pivot over to the tax side. So we'll do the tax preparation and tax planning. And then kind of layered on top of it, I like to think of it like a cake. So it's like, the accounting is the actual cake, the frosting is the tax return, and then the sprinkles and the decorations are really the advisory services. And that kind of rounds off everything that we really do for our clients.
Nice. And one of the things we talked about before is, with the approach on pricing, you talked about, being able, deviating from the traditional, hey, we're going to charge hourly, so clients are getting surprise bills. What made you guys switch to a more stable pricing model?
Yeah, so one of the things that, we frequently have had challenges with, and I can probably every CPA in public accounting can identify with this, is that, you send a bill and it's got a certain number of hours on it. And somebody asks you, well, why was it so high? What did you spend this time on? And especially like timing of bills, you can, in a month, you can work on a close at the beginning of the month. And then maybe you do some accounting work at the end of the month, and your bill in 1 month is higher than the next month. And it leads to questions when you're working on my stuff. Oh my goodness. Like I don't have time or energy to answer billing questions. I want to be a phenomenal accountant for my clients. And so we converted all of our work to every single thing in our office is now done on a fixed fee basis. So we have a really defined scope of work. We tell you how much it's going to cost, and then you pay it. And if something else comes up later that you need done, we just increase the scope of work. We do a change order request, and we send a bill for what that new project looks like. And we do that across our firm. It's phenomenal. One of the other things that we really spent a lot of time crafting was giving people options too. So when you come to us, it's not just here's your one option that you get. It's okay, I want to pay for my accounting monthly, but I want these tax services kind of a la carte. I'll pay for those fixed fee as they happen. Or I want to integrate those into my monthly fee. Or I want to integrate accounting, tax, and strategic planning into my monthly fee. So we give people some options. I think that's what clients want from us. They really want to know, what do you do? What is everything you can do? And then I want to have the option to kind of cherry pick the things that fit my needs the most, or to know later, I can always switch and get something more if something comes up.
Nice. No wonder so many clients are happy with doing business with you. So if people that are listening and they're watching and they're like, hey, I got to check this firm out, where can they find you online?
They can find us at www.mbgcpa.com. And anyone, feel free to email me. My email is sbryant@mbgcpa.com, or reach out to us via phone. We're always happy to chat with people. But we certainly are really excited about working with our business owners. It's a really incredible experience for us when we can help a client to begin to achieve things that they really never thought were possible in their business by professionalizing this finance function. It's the key. It's the key to their future success. And this is their biggest investment. Most business owners, this is the largest investment that they have. Let's take care of it. Let's nurture it. Let's grow it. And we really want to help our clients in that way. So it's not just debits and credits anymore. It's transformation. It's dreaming bigger. It's thinking bigger. It's really starting to cast that financial vision. That's the future. That's where CPAs really need to spend their time. That's where we need to be helping our clients more. So,
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, before we wrap up, one question I always love asking is, when you think about your career and you think about your path of where you've been and where you are today, what's two lessons that you would share with other CPAs? And it could be something you've already said that you want to reiterate, or it can be something new.
hmm. I think one of the things that I say a lot is, we have to be fearless. We've got to go fearlessly into the unknown. We have a light and it may be darkness ahead of us, but we just take a step and it's illuminated. So be brave and go out and do things you've never done. Go try advisory services, in a very controlled way. Have conversations, change the way that you're thinking, go out and learn as much as you can, but be fearless and be brave and just don't be afraid to change. There are really awesome ways to do things that are not the Sally, same as last year.
Mm.
So I think that's definitely one of them. I think the other thing that I would share with other CPAs is that, um, I mean, just spend a lot of time developing others. Be a mentor, grow other people. Don't subscribe to the traditional CPA thought of like, this is my client, this is the way I do it, like mine, mine, mine. I
Mhm.
mean, this is a huge thing with CPAs. They are, control oriented, and they don't trust other people to do work for them. That will stifle your ability to grow professionally. You know, Train other people, mentor them. It's okay to delegate and it only be 80% the way you would have done it. Help them to get it to 95% because it will never be 100%, right? But I think mentoring and just teaching others and helping others to become the advisors, of the future. I mean, this profession is amazing, but we really need to start focusing on growing the next generation of CPAs. I mean, we're going to be like last of the Mohicans before long. I mean, people are not going into the accounting profession, especially public accounting, and we've got to we really have to modify the perception that people have of public accounting. And otherwise, we're not going to have enough people to do this work. So we got to change as public accountants. We got to do things differently. We got to create better cultures, better organizations. So it's up to us to make the difference.
Absolutely. Well, Susan, thank you so much for being an amazing guest, for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me. Okay, well, thanks everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Finance and Accounting Show. If you like what you heard, don't be selfish. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and then share this with a friend, because you know a business owner that could definitely use this insight. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend, and turn on the notification bell so you get all the updates when we release a new episode.